So, and that's what the instructions say. Factor out the common factor of each expression. If there is no common factor, write the word prime. All right, so if you have no common factor, you'll just tell me that the expression that you have is prime. In this case, we have a common factor. What is our common factor for the numbers? 7. What about variables? Yeah, x to the 4th. So on the outside here, we're going to have 7 x to the 4th. On the inside, we're going to take negative 14 divided by 7. What are we going to get? Negative 2. And my variables, yeah. X squared and y. All right. Took out 2 of my x's, or 4 of my x's. 2 were left. Didn't take any y's out. Negative 7 divided by negative 7. Negative 7 divided by positive 7. There we go. All right, positive 70 divided by positive 7 gives me what? Just positive 10. I started with 4 x's. I took all 4 of them out. I had no y's. There we go. You're done. All they're asking is for you to take out the common factor here. That's literally all they're asking. So pay attention to your instructions. If I say take out the common factor, that's literally all I need you to do. So you'll notice they took a negative 8 out. So you could take a positive out. That's fine if you take an 8 instead of a negative 8. You would get a negative 9, negative 2, and negative 16. I will say when you start factoring, it's much easier if this first guy is negative to just make this thing you take on the outside negative. Because as you get to bigger factoring, it helps you. So it's something to get used to. But these aren't too big numbers. So we have a 72, a 16, and a 16. So your common factor is an 8 here. Divide your 72, 16, and 16. You can have 1x because of this guy right here. You can have 1y because of this guy right here. And then you're just dividing. Negative 72 divided by negative 8 gave us the 9. We took out 1 of the x's, we're left with 2. We took out 1y, we're left with 1. Negative 16 divided by negative 8, that's why we have a positive 2. We took out 1 of our x's and the only y we had. Same thing here, negative 16 divided by negative 8 gave us a positive 2. 1x came out, 1y came out. We were left with 1y. All right, the next thing we did was just basic factoring. So when you have a 1 in front here, then all you're really worried about is what's happening with the last term. The first thing you want to look at here is I have a negative 27. So I know that I'm going to have a positive and negative group. So I'm going to always have an x and an x for something like this. Because it is a negative 27, I'm going to have a positive x, or plus and a minus after my x. So now I'm just going to look at factors of 27 then that will subtract to give me negative 6 here. So 3 and 9 is what I'm going to use, right? So 3 and 9 will multiply to give me 27. Specifically, I want a negative 6 here. So what's positive, what's negative? Positive 3 and negative 9. They multiply to give me that negative 27. They add to give me that negative 6. When it is just 3 terms like this with a 1 in front, you're done at this point. You don't have to separate it and factor by grouping. You actually found your factors right here. Positive 3, negative 9. You are done with this problem. Okay? And they will be in order. So like you will have ones like this where you just go straight factoring. Then you're going to have one like number 13 where you pull a common factor out and then do straight factoring. I actually have some people that will do this to the side. They'll say, okay, 27, that's 1 and 27. And then 3, and this is an easy one because that's the only, that's really our only options there. So 3 and 9. And then you're saying, okay, I know I'm going to subtract because of this guy. So 1 and 27 is definitely not going to work. That's going to be 26. 3 and 9, that's 6. Now I just need to decide how to get to the negative. Okay, well, that's a positive 3 and a negative 9. So you can literally just write them out on the side if you want to.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so for this one, you may be tempted. This is what people normally do. They're like, oh, 5 times 75, right? And then it's over there. But really, what is your first rule? What's your first rule of factoring? Take out your common factor. So for this one, 1, negative 6, and 27, my common factor between 1, negative 6, and negative 27 was 1. So then I knew I could go straight to my normal factoring. Here, I have a 5, a 40, and a 75. I have a common factor. And so I can take that common factor out first. And so that's what I'm going to start with here. I'm going to start with the 5, and then I will have a squared minus 8a plus 15. So now that we've taken out our common factor, we're going to do exactly what we did on number 9. We have a positive 15. The only way to get a positive number when you're multiplying is to have either 2 positives or 2 negatives, right? Positive times a positive equals a positive, or negative times a negative equals a positive, okay? So then, now that we know, okay, they're both going to be the same, which one are they? We're going to go to this guy. They are both negative, okay? So that middle term is negative. They're both negative. So I'm going to leave my 5 on the outside, and then I know I'm going to have 2 parentheses, and both of them are going to be subtractions. So now I'm going to look at all my factors of 15 that will add up to give me 8. And again, if you're struggling to figure out what they are, write them out. 1 and 15, 3 and 5. I'm adding to get to 8. I'm using 3 and 5. Specifically, -3 and -5. Because I want to multiply to get positive 15, and I want to add to get -8. So 3 and 5, and then I'm done. And you can FOIL and check. You owe both of these as well. First rule of factoring is to find a common factor. However, this one is 5, 30, 1, and 6. There is no common factor. And none of your variables are the same. So you're going to go straight to factor by grouping. First 2, last 2. What did I do in the last group? I grouped behind what? What needs to happen? There you go. All right, what's in common with the first group? 5 n squared. 5 divided by 5 is 1. I started with 3 n's. I took 2 out, 1 n. Yep. And I have 30 divided by 5. That's going to give me a 6. And I took out all the n's. Now remember, when you have a prime group here, you want to write the 1. If not, you will confuse yourself when you go to your final step. So n plus 6 has no factors. That group is technically prime, which means the only thing that can come out here is a 1, and you want to actually write it. So you want to write the 1 and the n plus 6. The reason I have you write it is the most common mistake here when it's a 1 is people will write the n plus 6, and then they'll just write the 5 n squared. And that's wrong. That's the wrong answer, right? So a lot of times when people don't write the 1, they forget that it's there. And so I would encourage you at this level to write the 1s. Do remember it, because this guy is going to mess you up. So when you do your final answer, take that group out, n plus 6, and then you're left with the 5n squared minus 1, and that is your correct answer there. What do you notice about this one? It's a grouping, but it has the common factor. Okay? You see that I have a common factor between all my numbers. What is my common factor between those? Yeah, a 3 can come out of everything here. So I'm going to take a 3 out. I am going to put brackets here because when you have grouping, you're going to get confused a little bit. So I put brackets here. Divide everything by 3 first. So I have 7n cubed plus 6n squared. Oh, wait, why did I do 6? I'm dividing by 7. There we go, 21. 21, that's 12, 14, there we go, n squared, minus 4n, minus 8. I'm jumping ahead in my brain. So once you take your 3 out, you're ready to go exactly what we did on number 17. We're just going to go factor by grouping. So group these two. Again, I grouped behind a negative, so I'm changing that last sign. Leave the 3 out here, and then do the individual groups between 7 and 14. What can come out? 7 and n squared. I'm left with 1n plus 2. On the next group, I can take 4 out. I'm left with 4 on the outside, n plus 2 on the inside. And then my final step here is exactly what I did up at the top, except I have this 3. Don't forget the 3, all right? Leave him there. So the 3 stays as part of your factoring. You have the n plus 2, and you have the 7n squared minus 4, and you're done with that one. Always. So you're going to look 5, 17, and 6. They have no common factors. But my leading coefficient is not a 1. So now I'm going to do the method where I multiply across. All right? So I'm going to take the 5 and the 6, and I'm going to multiply across here. So when I multiply across, I get 30. And now I'm looking for factors of 30 that are the same sign. Same rule applies. It's a positive 6, so they have to be the same sign to multiply to get positive 6. Specifically, they're both going to be negative because of that middle guy. So I want 2 numbers that multiply to give me 30 and add to give me 17, which are what? 2 and 15, and specifically we're going to use negative 2 and negative 15 because of that negative 17. And now my process is to rewrite it. So I am going to take this and I'm going to rewrite this middle term using the 2 that I put right here. And don't forget you have a variable there to get that 17x. So the 5x squared stays exactly the same. I'm going to rewrite it to minus 2x and minus 15x, and then the 6 will stay the same. And you want to do a quick check here. If I combine like terms, will I get what I started with? Yes, I'll get the exact same thing that I started with. So all I've done is spread out those x's. I haven't changed my expression at all, okay? Once I've put it in 4 terms, I'm doing exactly what I just did on the prior examples. I'm just going to group them and factor by grouping. And again, I'm factoring behind a negative. So I'm going to change this last sign only when you group behind a negative. Take out your common factor. Here it's an x. Here it's a 3. And then, of course, do your 2 groups. And you're done. Questions on that one?